anybody watching this. I just felt compelled to make a video about this because I feel like it's important. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there struggling right now with the state of the world. And I just feel like there's a lot of brokenness in the world just with everything going on. It's hard to decide where to start with this, but I felt broken for a long time. Many years back, I was really on the wrong path, like majorly on the wrong path. And I was drinking a lot and I was partying because it's what made me feel good. It made me feel better, it didn't really fill the void that I had going on, but it was a temporary satisfaction, because it numbed the pain. It made the pain leave temporarily. Because of course I'd wake up the next day and I'd feel like trash. But there was a lot of negative experiences that led up to that. But there is redemption to this story, and I haven't even gotten into the granularity of the whole thing because I'm not entirely sure how granular I want to get with this video. And it's my first YouTube video I've ever made, so hopefully it gains some traction, and hopefully the right people will see it, and hopefully it'll give them hope, because this is ultimately a story of hope and redemption. And I'm going to close out this video with a prayer, because I just feel like the world needs prayer. I feel like people that struggle with addiction need prayer. I know I needed all the prayer I could get, and I prayed for a long time. Because like I said, I was partying, I was drinking. I started drinking when I was about 21, 22, and I'm 32 now. And I'm around 4.5 years sober now by the grace of God. He really met me in my worst times. But yeah, this, I hope that this video, really moves the right person. Because like I said, I've never posted a YouTube video before. I'm gonna try to edit this. Hopefully it's not too choppy. But like I said, the goal of this video is to offer hope and to offer support and strength, courage to know that even if you're struggling with addiction, like I did for many years, and at many points I thought I would never get away with it, I was born in the church. I was raised a Christian in a Christian family, but as I grew up, I just wanted to do my own thing, and it just didn't work. Because at some point, especially once I got into drinking, in the beginning, it was fun. Didn't really care, though I just wanted to fit in with the crowd. I just wanted to fit in with everybody because I just didn't feel like I had a place, I didn't really get the college experience. I had a hard time in school, got held back, didn't have the greatest grades. However, I'm a pretty smart guy if I really put my mind to it. But, I'm trying not to bounce around too much. I really should have written all this down, but I'm just winging it. But a lot of those negative experiences culminated into when I finally started drinking and I realized, oh, this actually feels good. That's when it really started to click with me, because I didn't really like smoking weed. It didn't really work out. And I didn't get into drugs. Thank you, Jesus, for that. It just didn't work. And I went through many years of trials and tribulations with drinking. like when I really look at it and I look back at it, there's no other way I would have been able to get sober without the power of God and surrendering to Him and praying to Him and just begging Him for mercy and redemption and to be saved. Because, you know, and if you're not religious or anything, I still hope that this video gives you some kind of hope. I hope it instills some type of peace in your heart and your soul. Because I know plenty of people who got sober and are not religious or anything, and hey, you know, I'm happy for you, I'm proud of you, because that's still such a massive, massive victory over addiction. Because addiction kills. But for me personally, I had to surrender. I had to start focusing on God to get to where I am now, because if I had not, I would have drowned. But, you know, for the longest time, I was drinking most days of the week, partying with my college roommates and everything. Now, when I say I didn't really get the college experience, I mean that I did not go to the traditional 4-year university. I went to community college for a while, then stopped because I just lost interest. And then when I moved to where I am now, I had roommates that did go to college, so I still live with them. So I kind of got the college experience without the college, without classes, but I got the partying and everything. And that was the highlight of my days or weekends, was whenever I got to go out and party and get drunk with my friends. But as we got older, things started changing. People started growing up, people started moving on, and I started having less and less roommates. You know, people started becoming more and more independent, myself included. Even though I'm a people person, excuse me, I'm a people person, and I'm typically very social. So like being on my own, I'm okay with it, but I am an introverted extrovert. So I still like being around people, especially when I was drinking. But as time went on, you know, I would justify my drinking like, oh, you know, like I don't drink every day, or I don't need a drink. Or, you know, comparing myself to alcoholics I knew, I'd be like, oh, I'm not like that, I'm not like this. But, you know, the comparison game is a killer, because a lot of times it's just denial. And it's also relative. You know, a 300-pound guy could crush 20, 30 beers and maybe be drunk. Whereas me, I'm about 147 pounds now. At the time, I was about 127. If I drank 20 beers, I would be smashed. So, you know, everybody struggles with a certain kind of issue. And when it's alcohol, everybody has their own level of what is too much. And for me, if I was gonna drink, I liked to drink to get drunk. It was a social thing, but also a private thing. But like, I didn't really see the point in drinking if I wasn't able to get drunk. So getting drunk was the appeal. And just not caring, not feeling like I'm responsible for anything. It felt good. But then noticing my roommates and my friends easing up on the drinking for the most part and starting to move on in their life and get good jobs and all that stuff, whereas I wasn't doing the same thing, that drew me back a little bit. And going back to when I was talking about trying to justify not having a drinking problem when I knew I did. I do remember one day I was at work, and out of nowhere, I got my first craving, you know, and I'd already been drinking for several years before that. So I was kind of surprised, but it also, like, once I started feeling that craving, like, dang, like I could really go for a beer or a shot, all of a sudden it was like a red light. I was like, oh no, that's not good. Because mind you, my uncle was a really bad alcoholic and addicted to other things. And, you know, there was some other alcohols in my family, you know, generational stuff. So that can definitely influence you as a person if you have generational addiction. It can influence you, especially if you have like an addictive personality, which I believe I do, but I've never had a professional tell me that or anything, but I'm pretty sure I do. But yeah, once I had the realization, I was like, oh no, this is bad. Like, I experienced my first craving, and I don't really know the steps of alcoholism, but that's got to be one of them. So my ears perked up, but not in a good way, and it kind of freaked me out. So yeah, it made me really start thinking about things. And then I was like, well, if I don't get sober, how am I gonna have a family? How am I gonna have a wife? How am I gonna have kids? Like, sure, I can, like, I'm living life right now, but where am I gonna be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you know? And this was something that I realized I had to take more seriously, because not saying that I would go the same route as my uncle or any other family or relatives, but like it was something I seriously had to consider. So yeah, it really freaked me out, realizing I was having a craving. And then it kind of opened the world to all sorts of other worries. Because at that point I'm like, wait, so if I continue down this road, like what will my organs look like? Where will my health go? Where is my money gonna go? Because mind you, at this point, I probably saved over $12,000. I have an app called I Am Sober, and I've used it to track my, sobriety. I don't really look. I haven't looked at it very much recently, but it is astounding. The amount of money I've saved, the amount of hours that I've saved, and probably the amount of years that I've not lost in my life. My time span in my life, my timeline. But yeah, things started progressing. I wouldn't say my drinking began to get worse, but my worries and my fears and my anxiety started to get worse, because it is very frightening going from not really worrying about it or caring to all of a sudden realizing, like, oh, I have a problem. It's that realization where all of a sudden you get smacked with a brick wall of reality, and you're like, do I get help? Do I do this? Do I do that? Mind you, I've never gone to AA meetings. I've never done the 12 steps. I never did any of that. Another miracle and gift from God. But basically, the story of my sobriety, I was considering saving that for another video, but like, I might as well tell it now since I'm in the groove for this video. Because there is redemption, like my YouTube name says, following redemption. I'm currently still following that redemption because it's a lifelong process. But explaining my sobriety, because I do feel like it's appropriate for this video. So let's see. I have a tattoo for it, the sobriety symbol, and 8/31/2019. So it was August 31st, 2019. Was a Saturday, because that's when was like my actual day that I stopped drinking. But basically what happened was I had, that Friday, I was telling myself I would not be drinking that weekend because I had gotten drunk that Wednesday and Thursday. And I worked retail at that time, which I don't anymore. So at that time, I worked most weekends, a few days off here and there, whatever. But I got off at 9 o'clock. At that time, I worked for Goodwill. I do not anymore. Working there, I worked there for almost 8 years, and that was another contributing factor. I was very depressed by my job. But anyway, I got off work at 9, and mind you, in my area, the majority of liquor was usually my go-to. Liquor stores usually close at 9 o'clock, so that was not an option. I had to go to 7-Eleven or a gas station or something to get a beer or malt liquor, disgusting. But it'll get the job done. However, there was a new ABC store built right off the interstate about 10 minutes from where I lived at the time, and it was on the way. So I'm on my way home, I'm on the interstate, and I was like, you know what? Let's just get some rum. get a rum. We'll just do some rum and coke. And I would do the Captain Morgan 100 proof because I liked it stronger, got me drunk easier and faster. So I cracked and I went there. And mind you can't even return liquor, so I was kind of shooting myself in the foot. So I go, and I had a habit of getting airplane bottles because in my mind, I wasn't going for what exactly was cheapest, but I was going for, like, at some point I was like, okay, if I just get 5 airplane bottles, that'll just be a couple shots, because each airplane bottle has 1.5 shots worth of liquor in it. And I'd usually go for 4 or 5 of them, and then I'd buy a soda and then go with that. And then every once in a while, I'd take one of my roommates' beers or something like that. I'd pay him back or something, but it was still a slippery slope. Anyway, I go and I grab the liquor, and on the way home, I'm just not feeling very good about it, but it was whatever at that point. But on the way home to my apartment, there's a baseball stadium near where I lived, and on the other side of the baseball stadium, there was a cut through in the middle of the baseball stadium, but on the other side of the cut through was my street where my apartment was. So I was like, oh, I'll take the cut through. So I take the cut through, and it's at night, so the lights are on, and a game had just finished up. So all these people are coming out. I'm blasting music. I'm huge in heavy metal, and I was blasting one of my favorite songs. But for some reason, the song sounded really weird this time. So I had to turn it off. And then as I look, all these people are like filing out of the stadium, but like all of them just look at me with like blank faces as they're like walking around my car, making room for me to go through the driving area. They're just looking at me really weird. And it was so unsettling, and it freaked me out a lot. So out of nowhere, that somehow triggered my first panic attack. So, if you've never had a panic attack, God bless you, I hope you never do. For those of you who have had panic attacks, you get what I was going through, and it was while I was driving, which made it so much worse. But I get home, and as I come inside, I have a cat at the time, she starts like hissing at me and clawing at the wall and acting all weird. And as a Christian, I'm, at that time I wasn't really thinking about it as much, but like as she's doing it, I was like, this is really weird behavior, because I fully believe animals are able to see things that we are not able to see necessarily. So that threw me off a lot. So I sat down on the couch and I started playing some Xbox. I think I was playing Friday the 13th or something like that with a buddy. And I was still having a panic attack. He was talking me through things. And mind you, he was a lot younger than me, so, kudos to him for being able to deal with me being like that. But I was like, well, I shouldn't drink this liquor, but I can't return it. So I'm just gonna drink it, and if it makes things worse, then I guess the liquor is the problem. If it makes it better, then I guess whatever. So I drank it all. I ended up feeling better, but the next day was absolutely terrible. Like, I was having panic attacks the entire day. And this was, I think, Labor Day weekend, I believe. Don't quote me. I don't know my holidays that well, but I think it was Labor Day weekend. It was a Saturday. I just felt so paranoid. It was so bad. Anxiety off the walls. And I'd never experienced this before. So I'm just freaking out all day. Mind you, I was supposed to work that day at 1 o'clock, and I'm trying to take a shower at like 11. I'm in the shower, and once I close my eyes to wash my hair, and all of a sudden I feel like everything's caving in. So then I just start breaking down. I cry so hard. I'm so scared. I just don't know what's going on. I don't know what's causing it. So I had to call in and say I won't be coming in. And it really sucked because I was supposed to do the closing shift, which was 1 to 9, and my other coworker was 8 to 4, so I was the backup, and then he'd leave at 4. And I had to call out. He had to stay late to help out, and the rest of that day was just bad. It was bad. I felt like I was being watched. I felt paranoid. I couldn't figure out what was going on. It was so bad. And so, I make it through then. But backtracking a little bit, throughout the last year of my drinking, I developed a habit. And I see this as a good habit because the habit was some of the nights that I'd be drunk when I was either coming home from a party or hanging out myself, I would get in bed and then I would get on YouTube. And then some of y'all might find this funny or silly, but it was like my thing at that point. I would get on YouTube and I would watch all these America's Got Talent videos, but I would want to watch the Golden Buzzer ones because they were just so beautiful to me. They were so satisfying, so redemptive in a way, victorious, beautiful, you name it. And me, I'm also a musician and a vocalist, and I do all those things. And maybe one day I'll post some of that kind of content on here, but for now, it's not necessarily for that. But those things would speak to me because I've always wanted to perform, but I always have like stage fright and anxiety and all that stuff, and probably care a little bit too much about what people think of me, but I think we all struggle with that. But I watch these videos and they would just make me really vulnerable because I'd get really emotional and I'd cry over some of them because I'd think it was amazing. But what would happen was a lot of times in the suggested section, there would be worship songs. I love worship songs more than most things. I just connect with them so deeply, and they are like a token to me, really, a token of love. And basically, at one point, there was a video there, and it's of this song, Draw Me Close to You by Hillsong. And it's one of those videos where it's a very slow slideshow where the lyrics are shown and then they have a picture in the background. It changes every once in a while. And mind you, I had seen this exact video years ago back when I was in high school, and it really resonated with me. And we even sang it in my high school because I went to a private Christian school. So it just really resonated with me. That video popped up, and I'd watched it multiple times before, but that particular night, a particular night, it just popped up on its own. And one of the more powerful parts of it is the fact that the picture that the person who created it used was a picture of Jesus pulling Simon Peter out of the water because he was sinking. And immediately I just broke down because I realized I had been sinking for almost over 6 years with the drinking. I was sinking. I was desperate to get out. I was desperate to stop, but I just had no faith, no strength in myself, nothing. It was already hard enough to not drink for 4 days straight. I was very hopeless and helpless at many times, but seeing that video, it hit different at that point. And I prayed so much. I was like, Lord, I can't do this anymore. I want a life. I want to be able to have a family and kids and see my parents get old. Like I want to be with my family, and I can't get sober without you. I don't have the strength. I don't have the willpower, my desire, everything. Like I need you, and I give up. I can't do this without you. Please help me. And I had a few of those nights. It became a repeated process. Some people, like, they make a prayer like that and God just wipes it clean. And like, that's it for them. Like, that's it. But for me, I had to pray over it a lot for a long time. But I had hit my rock bottom. 1,000% I'd hit my rock bottom. And I stayed consistent with that praying, breaking down, being emotional, being vulnerable, showing him I had nothing and I needed him because he is everything and I'm nothing without him. So yeah. So that night that I came home to drink, that very last one, that was my last night drinking. And so August 31st, 2019, that day was terrible. It was filled with anxiety. I did develop depression at some point. But there was so much redemption through the whole story, because though I experienced so much heartache, turmoil, trials and tribulations getting through drinking and then getting sober, now I basically never experienced depression or anxiety. And whenever I can feel anxiety coming on, creeping on, I'm able to like fight it. And then it typically goes away. Like, life is not what it used to be. It's not the same. And that's solely through God. Like, that's it. Like I said, there's plenty, maybe some of you will see this and you're sober and you're not religious. And like I said, more power to you. I love you and I support you. But I do hope you find God and that you're able to see God the way that I see God, and the way that your people see God, because most people have a friend or several friends that are Christians or something, they believe in God. But I'm still happy for anybody who achieves sobriety and remains sober, because sobriety is not an easy feat. It is such a difficult one, and I have lost many friends to not necessarily addiction, but depression and other illnesses, unfortunately. But I just hit that point, like I said, where I was broken, and I learned to accept it, and I learned that I had to admit that I had a problem, that I didn't have a solution, nor the strength to fight it and be victorious. And mind you, my parents were praying for me every day about this too, because they knew what was going on, but they didn't know how deep it went for me. And plus, I have some childhood traumatic experiences that may or may not have affected it, I don't know. But I have since prayed about those and dealt with them as well. But, I really hope that this video reaches anybody, somebody looking for hope, somebody looking for peace, somebody looking for another chance at life, and somebody looking for someone to trust in that is greater than themselves. Because in the end, me not drinking and me being alive is a testimony from God. It just wouldn't have worked without him. It wouldn't have. If I had not chosen to surrender to him, I would still be drinking. And honestly, when I really think about it, there have been times when I'm like, I don't remember drinking. Like, it's weird. Like, sometimes like, did I really do all that drink? Like, did I really do all that? And it's just crazy to me, because I went from thinking I'd never be able to stop drinking to questioning if I ever drank in the first place. What is that? How amazing is that? Like, that's so cool. It's so beautiful. God, I don't know if he rewired my brain to think that, but when I look back, it's like my younger self would never have imagined where I am now. And if he had known, he probably would have done something to mess it up. That's just how it is. Because now, I went from that retail job being depressed. Oh, and in the midst of all that, I went back to school and I got my degree. So, woo, did that. And now, I've worked at my corporate newer job for almost 2 years. I've been doing really well at it, but I'm possibly going to be making a career change at some point soon this year. I'm also hoping to be able to buy a house this year, but we'll see. I don't want to get too off track, but where I was and where I am now, this guy gone. This guy alive, thankful, rejoicing in the redemptive love of Jesus, and I'm looking forward to Jesus' return at this point, because I want to thank him in person for what he did for me, for redeeming me and saving me. And it's just a lot to think about. It's a lot to process still. But I love when people come to me for support, for guidance, for acceptance, because I'm not going to judge you, because I had my own issues and you have yours, and I'm here to be a friend. I'm here to love you and accept you, support you, talk with you, be your friend. My name is Alex, and my parents named me Alexander because it means helper of mankind in the Bible. And that is what I strive to be, as helper of mankind. I want to be a helper. And I hope that the people that see this video feel some type of connection to the testimony. I hope, that y'all subscribe and like it and comment, because I would really love to hear you guys' stories or read them, regardless if you believe in God or not. I would love your support, because no matter what, we all need help. We all need love. We all need a safe space. And, I would love to continue posting more videos, maybe about the same topic, or just anything that will draw people in and pay attention to the truth, which is Jesus, and it's like, I know that some people have a really hard time with the whole Jesus thing, because all they've known is pain. All they've known is just bad things, negativity, depression, heartache, heartbreak. And I get that. I've experienced a lot of that myself. And it's not always just a quick fix. Sometimes it takes years, decades, a lifetime to fix those things. But, I'm here for you. And I would love, like I said, to see your testimonies in the comments. Or just, get your opinion on the video. Like I said, it was my first video. And hopefully anybody that maybe comments on this video will be considerate and kind, because that's what I want this channel to be about, is kindness and consideration and support and being a voice for people that are still struggling. So I guess that's where I'll cut the video for now. I'm gonna maybe write down some more video ideas, because I do want to post more, and hopefully they'll gain traction. But until then, I'm going to say a quick prayer for anybody that watches this video, because I believe it's really important. So, Lord Jesus, I pray that whoever watches this video, that you'll touch their heart, whether they believe in you or they don't. Lord, be with them, provide for them, bless them, nurture them. Lord, if they're struggling with some type of addiction or depression or anxiety, Lord, I pray that you'll remove that from their life. I pray that in your name, Lord Jesus, because you are holy, you are mighty, you are worthy, you are powerful, and there's nothing greater than you. We all need you, Lord. And I pray that whoever watches this realizes how much you love them, even if they have pushed you away their entire life or they've never known you. Lord, make yourself known to them. I pray this in your beautiful and mighty name, Lord Jesus. Amen.